to the SmartCom Summit TeamsTime session. In this next session, we're going to be talking to Roetenberg of Citrix, and I'll do that together with Gilbert, my friend and colleague. We just talked, the previous block, with previous session, we talked about, let's say, hybrid work and how it's changing and how devices are changing and the way we work are changing. Now, Rick, you're with Citrix, and the way I know Citrix is that it used to be the company that controlled all these virtual desktops and environments, and it was the go-to place to do that. How has that changed over the last couple of years in this whole hybrid work time?
Well, yeah, good question. What we see, it's still, a lot of customers still need their called legacy environment because they have all kind of applications, legacy Windows-based applications, like an Epic, chip soft, for example, in healthcare, but also financial systems that are running. But on the other hand, we also see that that we're going to do more hybrid work because we are going to the Windows managed devices, for example, or the Chromebooks or whatever. And that's what we see as boundary, that we're going to change to more local again, instead of, yeah, you have a small client connect to the Citrix environment and you're back, you can do all your jobs, or you do your work. And that's what we see changing, and that's where Citrix is helping customers with, because you can't move from application A to B, for legacy to a web or SaaS application in a few seconds. The hardest part in IT, I think, is modernization of application or moving away from a certain application set. But using Citrix next to the legacy style working, we can help customers with that, with integration of web and SaaS application in one portfolio or in one platform system. But we also can enhance security around that. So let's.
Yeah, I think the security part is really important, right? Because at the one hand, we're all working on different devices. We're working everywhere, working anytime. Different places. We take our iPad and our iPhone everywhere. Data is there, and we're very sensitive, especially nowadays, about where the data goes and leaks and security and ransomware and all that stuff. So how does that work out? How can we make it still fun to use all these devices and efficient and at the same time secure?
Yeah, what we do at Citrix is that we have the platform called Citrix Workspace. It's nowadays also normally used for launching a Citrix application. But in the meantime, we can also integrate web and SaaS applications to that, and also adding teams of OneDrive and OneDrive for Business, but also the old-fashioned network drives that we're using now, still using nowadays, because we can't move to SharePoint or OneDrive for Business, for example.
Just to interrupt a little bit, this morning I really got the instructions of not too technical. So yeah, okay, saying the same thing here, as in, okay, that's great, but is it then now fully integrated or not?
It's fully integrated. You get one solution where you can launch everything that's in there, yeah. And the user doesn't matter. And as IT, you don't have to choose where is the data coming from. You can merge and start the migration.
And from a security perspective, is then, like you mentioned in the beginning, everybody has different devices. Is it also like bringing in your own device and?
Yeah, and that's the interesting part. What we can do is, it doesn't matter if we are launching a web application, a SaaS application, or a legacy application. We can determine on continuous monitoring and also zero trust, what we hear nowadays a lot. We can combine and determine what's the best approach. So if, for example, if you're trying to launch an internal web page or a web application, or SaaS, sorry, it doesn't matter where you are. So if you are in the office, you can do everything in that application. You can download files, upload files, start printing, and copy and paste data to your local device, for example. But when you're going to the Starbucks or going at home or using your bring your own device, we can disable that for you. So you can still access that application that you prefer. It doesn't matter on which device. But as a T, you can set boundaries.
So that depends then on the network that you're on, or geo, or how does that in practice work?
Depends on what you want. We can do a kind of endpoint analysis, so we can determine, oh, is it a managed device by the company? Okay, then you're good. Are you also in the Netherlands? Okay, then you can do this. But if you go connect through outside of Europe, for example, because you're in the US, then things will be blocked, or even you can disable access. You can't access it even if you are on a managed device.
You were in the Middle East a week ago.
Yeah. the first issue was actually sort of a bill shock that after 2 hours my roaming bundle was done.
Yeah, that can be done.
So then connecting into a cloud environment is pretty harsh, as in not possible. So then you go to the Wi-Fi of the hotel, but then of course you're a little bit uncertain, is this safe?
Yeah.
When the VPN is blocked, you're also like, and what's next?
Yeah.
So how do you handle that when people need to work remotely?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's why we have that called, everything does be done based on zero trust. So we're verifying where the user is at. But on the other hand, if everything should be blocked because of all the regulation that are there, and you are not, the verification is not completed, you can still use a Citrix environment to launch that web application, for example. If we can't say you can't do this manually or locally. On the other hand, in the workspace, we have an embedded browser in the system where we can say, okay, but you can launch that web or SaaS application, so for example for your Office 365 solution, but we block everything that you only can access that web application, so you can't download and upload certain things. And it can be fully managed, of let's say we're going to block everything, or we're going to push you a notification, hey, let's assume that you are the user, please verify by clicking on yes or no, that make sure that you are that guy, but also send an email to the IT department, for example. So please investigate, because he might be have some ransom attack, for example.
And how easy is it then to log in? Do you need to have all sorts of verifications where you need to type a lot of things, or is it also like facial recognition, moving things more to the mobility side where we're used to that?
Depends on what you want to prefer, because the workspace that we use, we can authenticate with different ports. So we can use the Azure MFA, we can use Azure AD integration, for example, that if you have a managed device from Microsoft perspective, for example, or Intune Microsoft Endpoint Management nowadays, we can do everything by single sign-on without the user have to log in.
Because I mean, one of the things we discussed was you need to make it easy. You need to make it fun. You need to make it easy.
And this whole trend now of trying to get rid of passwords, like with Apple, Microsoft, Google, I think formed this bond to make it simple and secure at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what we say is always difficult, because I like to say you all have that yin-yang between user experience and security. Like I mentioned, what we're doing is everything is single sign-on, so you have to log in only once in the beginning. If you have a managed device, for example, you don't even have to log in, because we know that device is yours and it's company owned, and so just for example. But if we are in a place that's not preferred by the company, then you can still access the same application, because the user is still clicking on that application in the start menu, but we set boundaries regarding the copy and paste things. Yeah. And that the other thing is, for example, if you look at from SaaS, it is nice to, if you move your data to a SaaS provider, and then you ask questions, who makes sure that the data is secure? Then a lot of customers are saying, yeah, it's handled by the providers there. But if there is a breakout of a ransomware attack at that provider, so the SaaS has been compromised, who will be in the news? You or the SaaS provider? At the end, it's you as company.
As a company, you suffer.
You suffer. So
you have to take that control, basically.
So exactly with adding that, with the components of web and SaaS security on top of that, we'll make sure that you can always use the application that you prefer, but also make sure that security is handled.
Well, great.
Good.
Thanks a lot, Rick, for explaining this. And I'm curious where this is going to lead us in the next couple of years, because I think we're at the start of a journey, not the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a start.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.